Today we're checking out the incredible Bayeux Tapestry, which is a long, 224 plus foot long, embroidered account of the Norman Conquest, the events leading up to and including the Battle of Hastings. And along the way, we'll also see a little bit of why a lot of what we know about this tapestry might be wrong. This is absolutely probably one of the coolest things we've ever seen in our travels. I think this should be one of the wonders of the world again. It is an incredible embroidered piece of art that was done after the Battle of Hastings in 1066. It has incredible detail included in about 57 scenes. The end of it is missing, and after 900 plus years, it's not surprising that it's actually a miracle that the entire thing is here at all. But you can visit this in Bayeux. It is, you go through the room, it's under glass, and you get an audio guide. You can walk along and follow the audio guide. My only complaint with that is that as a longtime embroiderer, I was so fascinated by this that I felt rushed by having to hold the audio guide is great, but it forces you to keep up with it to walk along as the scenes are told, and you can't really pause it and stop and look at these incredible scenes and all these details, which I wanted to just pull up a chair and like, excuse me, I'm just going to sit here and stare at this for an hour. So I had to walk along too quickly, and I didn't get to see it nearly as in depth as I would have liked. The Bayeux Tapestry is actually the first recorded instance of several things. It actually shows the soldiers riding past Mont Saint-Michel, which in the 1070s was already old, if you can just let that sink in for a second. It also is probably the first recorded instance of people seeing Halley's Comet. There's a really great couple of little bits of scene where they are pointing at a comet, and it's Halley's Comet going by. Also, the earliest known depiction of a horse pulling a plow or a harrow in the bottom. There's all kinds of little agricultural scenes going on in the bottom, and then you have all this terrific Latin sort of text above. If you can read Latin, it tells the story. And as with any historical document, I guess you could call this, it's, you know, history is told by the winners. So this is a terrific historical piece, but it's also probably a pretty hefty propaganda piece. Lots of argument exists among historians about the veracity of a lot of the scenes here. It was commissioned by Odo, a bishop called Odo, who was a half-brother of William the Conqueror. And he definitely puts himself into the scenes, and his friends even. He portrays himself in a lot of heroic scenarios throughout the tapestry. So it's hard to know how much of this is true and how much of it is, you know, very well done propaganda. But it is said to have been commissioned by him in probably the 1070s, and here we get into one of the myths. It's called the Bayeux Tapestry, but it was actually commissioned by him and probably done in Canterbury in England, so which I believe is in Kent. So, and it's not actually a tapestry per se. It's embroidered wool, yarn, and thread embroidered on a plain linen background. So it's actually an embroidery. So it should, instead of being the Bayeux Tapestry, it should actually be called the Kent Embroidery, but it just doesn't have the same ring to it, does it? And I also love that there are scenes throughout that probably would have been instantly recognizable to the medieval viewer, but their meaning has been lost to us. For example, though, there was a scene of a woman. It looks like she's either being punished or maybe she's being blessed, and there's a completely naked man below her in the bottom border, which is, everyone has been fascinated by this scene. Like, why is it in this? Why is it important enough to have been recorded in this tapestry? And if you look at all the details throughout, this is really an amazing piece of just a glimpse into medieval life. I mean, these are firsthand, probably eyewitness accounts of some of this stuff, but this is contemporary to their time. So this is the most incredible peek into medieval life. Everything from clothing and armor and weapons and horse trappings and battle gear and ships and farming. I mean, this and banqueting. I mean, it's just a neat glimpse and a window into medieval life as done and as stitched by current people of the time. And if you're into stitching and embroidery, this is so incredible to see and to imagine these women doing this and sitting and designing this and drawing the scenes and finding the colors and depicting all of these scenes. Just absolutely a marvel. I did find it really interesting also to know that the Victorians in England in the 1800s stitched a faithful exact replica of this, and it's on display at the Reading Museum. Although being Victorians, they actually covered up some of the obvious nudity in the tapestry with little underpants. I will also include a link down below in the description to the Bayeux Museum itself, which has an interactive explore scene by scene of the tapestry on their website. It's really a nice thing to look at if you have the time. And the final tidbit I found interesting when researching this is that they are not sure that the last scene depicting Harold being killed by an arrow to the eye, they have discovered that that arrow was stitched in almost 300 years later during a restoration of the tapestry. And they had needle holes in that spot, which showed that something was there, but they added that as an arrow. So we don't really know that that's how he died. Now it's being argued over that if that's how he died or even if that's him. So interesting debate still continues about this amazing piece of art. And the final scene is cut off, and we've lost the rest of it, which probably would have been William the Conqueror's coronation after the battle. The fact that this tapestry even exists is somewhat miraculous. In its history, it has almost been destroyed more than once. It was taken, confiscated in 1792 during the French Revolution, and it was going to be used to cover military wagons, and it was recovered by a lawyer at the time who hid it and then got it back to the French government. And after Napoleon's rule, it was actually returned to Bayeux. And then during World War II, it narrowly escaped being taken out of France by the Nazis, and it was saved after the liberation of France and eventually shown in the Louvre briefly and then returned to its original home in Bayeux again. If you are in Normandy though, oh my goodness, if you love history and you love the Norman Conquest or William the Conqueror, do not miss the incredible Bayeux Tapestry. You can grab a lunch here. We had a lunch right next to the cathedral while we were there one day, and the town itself is worth stopping through. There's lots of neat World War II history here to see as well. I hope this inspires you to include Bayeux in your next visit to Normandy. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.